So once again, everybody, I'd like to introduce Jason Cosmic. He'll be our first speaker today. Jason, how you doing today? Here you go, brother.
Outstanding, thank you, Justin, and working on spectacular. To you Hamiltonians, do you feel empowered and liberated, Canadians? Yeah, please, thank you. All right, here we go. First of all, hello, Canadian Crusaders and amazing patriots. Thank you so much. Of course, we thank you for cherishing your human rights, as I say, and your personal fundamental freedoms and civil liberties. Am I right?
Absolutely, yes.
And we are winning in Canada. Never forget that. The establishment always tries to demoralize us. We know how COVID-19 and the outrageous tyranny at times have impacted negatively our lives, but we're not going to let the establishment destroy us, correct?
Correct.
And to that point, everybody, thank you so much. We thank you, as I've said before, for your deep, unwavering commitment. Can we get that banner shown, please, Kat? For your deep, unwavering commitment and support for truth, freedom, and health. And thank you, of course, for your stellar public dedication and activism on the ground. Thank you for putting the flyers out, Sherilyn, and all the organizers of our Hamilton Freedom Group. We don't have hundreds, but each and every one of you make a difference. You know that. So never give up, never surrender. Do not capitulate to this deep state evil. Right?
Yes, sir.
And that's why we will be victorious. I was just talking to Wes. I just met him and his lovely wife, and their daughters are right over here. His wife could tell you the story of what happened to her one day where she was apparently fired. Can I say it? Wes, where are you? Yeah? Oh, thank you. She was fired at McMaster University. Was that for not taking the ridiculous, outrageous gene therapy?
That is correct.
Outrageous. And my sister, as a frontline nurse, she's not here, she's in New Brunswick today, but she was fired, as many frontline workers as well, for not taking the jab. Can you imagine? And now she has to file a grievance with the union, which she's done. And started all over as a nurse, has a new website. So that's where we're at in Canada, but we are winning. And one of the reasons is, as you guys know, one of the silver linings of this pandemic is we've realized that we have millions of truth, health, freedom warriors all across Canada. And yet we have millions of people that are propagandized and bamboozled, unfortunately. But here's the great news, as I've said before. Dr. Shiva in Massachusetts, an amazing leader and educator, a man with a PhD from MIT, 4 degrees, and he invented the email system at 14 years old. He shows you the actual research that shows 20% of people I describe are like you. They're change agents. They wake up every day. They say, how do I change the world? As I told Wes earlier, in my own small, humble way, I'm trying to be a catalyst for change. And I get people attacking me online when I call out some of the names of controlled opposition. We'll do a whole speech one day on controlled opposition. And real briefly, my friends, we're going to get in the Canadian Bill of Rights in a moment. People like Chris Ass Clown Sky, Chris Sequoia. He did a speech, apparently, I assume, in Toronto yesterday, where I was supposed to be at Queen's Park. I couldn't make it. These people, they never tell you how to assert your rights properly in Canada. Do you notice? His message is just say no. That's not a message. And I always say, how did that get you, Chris? How's that working for you? You've been arrested 25 times. Many people know his arrests are staged. You can tell. He's part of the not-so-obvious establishment.
In your opinion.
In my opinion, a lot of people's opinion, exactly. You just connect the dots, the circumstantial evidence is overwhelming. And these people are used to discredit the freedom movement. So have respect for yourselves, everybody. Do not follow the not-so-obvious establishment. We want real, genuine leadership. Am I right?
Woo! Yes.
Kellyanne Farkas, Kellyanne Wolf, another person I believe, and a lot of people know. She is part.
Thanks anyway, Jason. On to our next speaker.
No. Turn on the. I'm going to go to the Canadian Bill of Rights. Turn it on.
You're done.
No, I'm not
You're done.
done. No, I'm not done. This is part of the problem. I'm not even going to go on about controlled opposition much.
I'm not going to see her listen to talk about Kelly.
I'm done with Kelly. I just wanted to make that point. Thank you.
And Dr. Shiva ever told the vaccine autism connection? I bet she hasn't.
No, exactly.
Well,
But
so who's he?
so everyone, thank you again for asserting your human rights, your personal freedoms, and civil liberties. You guys are the heroes. Now, how do we move forward and actually be victorious?
With an arrest!
Exactly. We want to arrest the Lieutenant Ontario Governor, Elizabeth Doswell. Correct, Anthony and Jack? We're the only group that's doing that. We're after the real arrests. And, of course, Justin Trudeau, Justin Castro. Smile. It's okay. All right. Justin Trudeau, this clown, he's going to be gone very soon. Some people think the military already got him. And we want the police and the military to do just that. We want them to take action and with the rest of us arrest these corrupt politicians and, of course, our bureaucratic health officials. People like, Theresa Tam, Jerry Tam, right? And thank you so much again, everybody, for not caving into Big Pharma, for protecting your body autonomy, your informed consent. And thank you for liberating yourselves, everyone, again. And some of these clowns, they're not going to liberate us. It's you, everyone. Okay? Now, how do we move forward, as I say, and really be victorious? The Canadian Bill of Rights, right here. As I always say at the top of my shirt, it says it's an act for the recognition and protection of human rights and fundamental freedoms. So that means you can't even give away your rights. They're already recognized. They come to us by divine authority. And we come from divine creation, just like the U.S. Bill of Rights. And if you have any questions about how miraculous the Canadian Bill of Rights is, understand, without even naming the names, I've already mentioned a couple, they never discuss the merits of the Canadian Bill of Rights. As Keck knows, they use the Charter, the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. You guys understand, it's a communist-friendly document. Just look at Section 1. All the rinky-dinky bylaws that took away our freedoms, they used the Charter. And if you have any questions about my information, you go to Amazing Freedom Group, of course, called Stand for Thee. How many of you know that freedom group? The ladies over there in particular are doing amazing work. Jane Scarf, our paralegal, Rebecca Shepard, who owns it, right? Amanda Riding, I believe other researchers. We got Paul Irwin, Christina Pablos, and thousands of people are understanding and follow, apparently, Stand for Thee. And I've worked with them. And we had a roundtable professional discussion, Anthony and I and other people, on the Canadian Bill of Rights. And we talked a little bit about the difference with the Charter. And again, one of the silver linings of this pandemic, as you know, everyone, we're learning to build community, we're educating others, we're inspiring millions of people around the world on how to assert your rights, in particular here in Canada. The Canadian Bill of Rights, here we go. John Diefenbaker, 1960, wrote it. It is hereby recognized and declared in Canada, there have existed and should continue to exist, without discrimination, by reason of race, national origin, color, religion, or sex, the following individual human rights and fundamental freedoms, namely the right of the individual to life, liberty, security of the person, enjoyment of property, and the right not to be deprived therefore except by due process of law. Is that amazing or what? That's Section 1B is my favorite, Jane Scarf's. Section 1B, the right of the individual to be treated equally before the law and protected by the law. And we know, unfortunately, the vaccine passport, that nonsense, right? Kicking out the truckers, firing the frontline workers for not taking the jab, etc. That all violates Section 1B of the Canadian Bill of Rights. And Jack reminded me a while back, the third sentence of the preamble, everyone, and it says, Parliament is to ensure the protection of these rights and freedoms, but they did not, as delineated in the bill. So that is disobeying a statute, it's called. They violated, disobeyed Section 126 of the Canadian Criminal Code. And that is another reason why we can and will get our justice. We will get Justin Trudeau either in jail or at the very least, I think the establishment might even move him to Costa Rica. Apparently goes with his boyfriend for vacations there. He's an absolute clown and he's going to be gone soon. You can clap on that. And Poilievre, you know, what's that? What's his name? How do I pronounce? Pierre Poilievre, thank you. He's telling you, as I said at one of the Hamilton Worldwide Freedom Rallies, he's telling you what we've been saying. He says in so many words, we are not going to outsource our future for the World Economic Forum. And we're going to keep him honest when he gets elected. I believe they're positioning him right now. And it's all because of you, everybody. We can keep these politicians a lot more in check. Right? They need a Justin Castro, just like Joe Biden in the United States, to pull off all this bullshit. Am I right? But, my friends, we are winning, and we're going to get this country back. We're going to strengthen Canada. And one of the ways, we got to just start the culture conversation over. Use our Canadian Bill of Rights. You can use it right on the spot. Even with the vaccine passport. It means you can go on a train, you can go on a plane. You just got to use it and assert it. Okay? One last thing, everybody. Chris Sky, I want you to never forget this. When he was coming from the bylaw border in Manitoba, coming to Ontario, Jane Scarf and I have talked about many people. He had a guy in the back seat. 1 minute. And he used the Charter, Section 7, for mobility rights. And by the way, he did not assert his rights. You know, he says he's Mr. Non-compliant. He was completely compliant, a wussy pussy. He whipped out his ID at the border. He said where he lived in Ontario, and he said exactly where he was going. Why did he do that? Because he wanted his followers to do the same thing. That's how insidious some of these people are with their actions, unfortunately. And we got to understand that. The female cop responded to him on mobility rights. No, restricted Section 1 for mobility rights charter. You see the problem? That's the commie clause of the charter, and there's a lot of other issues with it. So let's use our Canadian Bill of Rights for the most part, everybody. And some people come out of the woodwork, a lot of people, and they'll say, well, the Canadian Bill of Rights, it doesn't apply to provincial law. We don't say it overrides provincial law. All the provinces want to have their own, rules and laws set in place. What we say, when you understand it, any application of force enforcement is regulated by the Criminal Code, which is federal. As I've said many times, and the Canadian Bill of Rights applies to all federal matters. And even with the tickets, when we... Hi! Canada flag over there. Awesome. I'm almost done. You ready, just a sec. Can I go for 2 more minutes here, everybody? You all right?
Yeah. The tickets.
The tickets. Even when the cops were here and they were ticketing us and harassing us at times during the stay-at-home order, I wish I knew more about the Canadian Bill of Rights from day one. But when I started to discuss it, and our Hamilton group saw it for themselves, all on video, the cops backed off, only bylaw ticket us. Why? Because they knew if they harass us or do any enforcement, the sergeant's telling them, you back off. That's how powerful this legislation is. I just told you, right? It is hereby recognized and declared in Canada. There have existed and shall continue to exist without discrimination by reason of race, national origin, color, religion, or sex, the following individual human rights and fundamental freedoms. One more time. Namely, the right of the individual to life, liberty, security of the person, enjoyment of property, and the right not to be deprived therefore except by due process of law. One more time. Section 1B. The right of the individual to be treated equally before the law, protected by the law, and of course, freedom of speech, freedom of assembly and association, like right now, and freedom of the press. Is that a miraculous piece of legislation or not? We have amazing laws in Canada, my friends. We just got to learn how to assert them, and we're doing it now. Australia, the amazing country, and many other countries, they don't have the laws we do. And of course, the United States have the First Amendment. Canada, we abide by many of the miraculous legislation that comes out of the U.S. Bill of Rights. And we got millions of people, as you know, that sacrifice their lives to come to Canada. Right? Many times over the water, as I've said before. No clothes. Coming to this country for one reason, and the United States. What's the reason? Freedom. Exactly. Freedom, baby. So please, everybody, dig in on the Canadian Bill of Rights. Let's use it. Let's have more speakers and during the marches talking about the Canadian Bill of Rights, because it puts a lot of pressure on our intellectually bankrupt government.
One of the clauses that you talked about, one of the clauses that you talked about is associated with bodily attack and victory.
Not exactly.
What's it say?
I
Okay, well let me just say.
interrupting the
How is
speech.
that associated
Mary.
with? Okay.
I'm almost done.
Well,
Thank you. And my friends, we the people have the power. As I've said before, we govern. If the government doesn't like our rights and freedoms, get the hell out of the way. And finally, everyone, resistance manifests itself in many different ways and is directly proportional to the magnitude of the change that you want to make. So let's multiply the fires of resistance in a way they can't suppress all of us. And lastly, as I said to Wes earlier, Dr. Shiva shows you the actual research. Here's some great news. I've said it before. 20% of people are like you, as I said earlier. They're change agents. 30%, we will never change their mind. So we don't focus on them. Not that they're evil people, but research also shows 30% can't be hypnotized. But 50% are on the fence. Well-meaning, positive people that we can potentially educate, get them on our side. That's 70%, and the establishment knows that. One more statistic. Right. Okay, I love it. And yeah, almost done. And everybody was there's one more statistic, and I can't remember what it was. Oh. For any movement to change society and gain traction, everyone, you only need 30%. We're already there in Canada, in Ottawa. We showed it, right?
Yes.
And I meant to say at the beginning, this speech is dedicated to all our amazing cops, because most of them do a good job, contrary to Arthur Pawlowski, who calls them Nazi, Stasi, and Gestapo.
Honor their oath.
Yes, most of them honor their oath. There's only been a small pocket of cops, unfortunately, that have violated their rights, which is never a good thing. But do not generalize, my friends, that all your cops are captured and bad. That's a communist sympathizing message. People like Arthur Pawlowski, I believe, deliberately do that. And I want to dedicate this speech to our amazing Canadian military, our convoy truckers, of course, all of our frontline workers, and the millions of truthers like you around the world. That's why we're winning. That's why we're going to be victorious. Use your Canadian Bill of Rights, and don't let the establishment demoralize you. Stay positive. I love you guys and gals. Thank you for your time.
Sherilyn?